Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another Python 3 tutorial, and today we are going to look at conditional statements. So let's get started. So what are conditional statements? Well, while programming you might have situations where you only want a piece of code to run when you have a certain condition set to true, or if certain condition is true you would want to run a certain piece of code. So to do that, Python has if-else statements. So the most basic if-else statement would be if, then condition. So for example, if I could say 1 is equals to 1, then colon. After that we need to press enter. So in Python we have something called indentations. So this space over here is called an indentation. Indentations are important because that is what allows Python to differentiate which part of code is under which block. For example, if I want something to be under if statement over here, I could do is I could indent it over here. So I can say print over here and I could say hello. Now if I run this statement, it shows me hello. Now if this statement was not true, for example, if I set it to 2 and then try to run this code again, then as you can see, nothing appears over there. Okay, so now if I try to remove this indent, see what happens. It will return me an error. Well, that's because now I started an if statement but I did not write anything inside my if statement. So you always need to write something inside the if condition if you are writing it. So you would ask me that why isn't print considered inside the if statement? Well, that's because if and print are on the same indent block, or if and print are on the same indentation level. So for print to be a child, what you need to do is you need to put print inside the indent block of if statement, not on the same level as if condition. So by the way, if you by any chance want to have an if condition but do not want to write anything in there, what you can do is you can write pass over here. So now this will not give you any error, but it will also not do anything in your code. So let me run and show it to you. So as you can see, now this condition turns out to be false and I am still printing hello. Well, that's because my print is outside the indentation block of if statement, or it is on the same level as if statement. So this is basically telling Python that you do not need to check over here. So Python skips this part and it goes on to this part. So keep that in mind. If you do not want to write anything inside a block, you can just type pass and then Python will ignore that part. Okay, so now that we know how we can write an if statement, what if I wanted to do something if the if condition turns out to be false? So I can say that hungry is equals to true. Now if I say if hungry, then print feed me, else print I'm not hungry. So this else condition kind of acts like a backup for your if condition. For example, if your if condition was not true, then the control will fall to the else condition and it will execute the code inside the else condition. Notice that else condition does not have any kind of conditional check inside it. Well, that's because this statement will always be executed if all the condition above it are false. Since true is a boolean and hungry contains a boolean variable, so when I run this code, it will give me feed me as the result. So, but if I set this to false, it will return I am not hungry. So the reason for that is even though I'm not doing any kind of conditional check over here, but the fact is that hungry is already a boolean value, and if condition takes in boolean value. For example, if you ever try to check any other condition, for example, if I say 1 is equals to 1, it always returns me a boolean value. So this is a boolean value. So since hungry is already a boolean value, so if condition will check if true, then feed me. If false, then it will move the control to else statement. Now I can also have another if statement inside a if statement. So let me show you what I mean by that. For example, I can say food is equals to good. So now I can say if hungry and if food is equals to good, print feed me, and else print not hungry. So if I run this code now, and it will return feed me, and if I change this good to bad, then it will return I'm not hungry. Well, it can be anything over here. For example, I can say B and it would still return I'm not hungry, because B is not equals to good, the string over here, and the string B is not equals to the string good. But there is a better way to do this. So I can say if hungry and food is equals to good, then print feed me, else print I'm not hungry. So if I run this now, it will return feed me. It will return I'm not hungry, because over here the food is set to B. So if I change this B to good and run this again, it will return feed me over here. So this over here is an operator, and what it does is it checks if both the conditions are true. For example, if this is true and this is true, it will return true. Basically an AND gate. So if true and true will return true, and true and false will return false, and false will also return false, and false and true will also return false. So since both the conditions over here were true, it returned true, and the if condition was executed. So this was an AND gate. So if I wanted to have OR gate, for example, if I wanted to say that if only one of these conditions is true, for example, I can change my AND to OR. So now what this does is if one of these conditions is true, it will return true, and the if condition will be executed. So the values would look like this. If true and true will return true, true and false will also return true, and false will return false, and false and true will return true. So if I change this to OR and change the food to B, so this will return feed me again. But if I set this to AND instead of OR, it will return I am not hungry. So that's the difference between AND and OR. Okay, so other than that, there is another operator called NOT. So let me show you how you can use that. So you can type if not hungry, print feed me, else print I'm not hungry. So before the same code returned me feed me because I did not have a not over here, but if I try to run this now, it will return I am not hungry. Well, that's because not operator inverts whatever the boolean value you have right now, and so that's why this condition turns out to be false even though my hungry variable is set to a true value. Suppose that you wanted to have multiple if-else conditions in a single if-else block. So to explain it to you, let me create another variable called items. So what I could do is I could say if item is equals to bag, print this is a bag. Elif items is equals to pen, print this is a pen. Else print I don't know what this item is. So if I try to run this now, it will return this is a bag. So if I change bag to a pen, then this will return this is a pen. Well, what's happening over here is first it will check the if condition, then it will check the elif condition, and if that is not true, then it will move on to the else condition. So you can have multiple elif conditions as well. For example, I could say pen and then pencil. So this will still print this is a pen because this condition turns out to be true, and afterwards it does not check any other elif or else condition. So if I change this to pencil, it will return this is a pencil. If I change this to something that is not in the conditions, it will return the default condition, that is else. So if I run this now, it will return I don't know what this item is. So keep that in mind that you can have multiple elif conditions as well, but there can only be single if and a single else condition. Okay, so that's it for today's tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and if you thought this video was helpful, then you can subscribe and like the video, and if you want to be notified every time I drop a new video, you can turn on the notifications. Okay, I'll see you in the next tutorial.